Hi and welcome to another video from the CTAG Clinic. My name's Dr. Mike Lloyd, I'm the Clinic Director. In today's video we're going to be answering a subscriber question, and the question is this: how to answer, is DID even a real thing? So thank you very much for asking this question, because again this is something that we come up against time and time again with people and clinicians and from all sorts of different organisations, and questioning whether or not dissociative identity disorder actually exists. So this concept of it being a real thing and wanting to know whether or not it is, and I've come up with 5 ways to be able to answer this question, sort of depending who you're talking to. So if you're just talking to someone who just doesn't get it, you just think, oh, that sounds like a weird, strange thing and I just don't think that believes it, there's not really you're going to go far with that person. You can educate them if you like, but it depends how willing they are to listen. I think this is more important when you're actually dealing with, say, doctors and nurses and people in health services and therapists and what have you, questioning that DID actually exists in of itself. This is where I think the 5-point answer really comes into its own. So I'm going to go through these. So the first one is quite a technical one. Dissociative identity disorder, used to be known as multiple personality, but we know it as DID, is present in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual version 4 and in the International Classification of Diseases version 11. So this is from psychiatry and from the World Health Organization. So DID is present in both of these texts. This is the formal guide for people across the world to diagnose conditions of a physical and mental health nature. So to say that DID doesn't exist in the DSM is to look at, say, depression and say, well, it's in the same book as depression. We know depression exists, therefore we have a reliable and valid source. And in the ICD, diabetes exists and DID is present in the same book as diabetes. So again, by association, everything in there is taken to be correct. So from a technical point of view, the fact that it is present in both of those textbooks means it does exist, and it's being considered to exist by some very, very important people in the field of health. That's where I would always start. It does exist, it's in there. If you're saying it doesn't exist, then you're saying that these books are wrong, and any doctor or therapist that believes that what's in those books is fundamentally wrong has to question why they think that. The second point is that DID is present in peer-reviewed research across the world. So many academic and clinical institutions have done research on DID as a phenomenon and have discussed it and broadly accepted that it exists and the manifestation of it, the way it forms, the nature of why it forms, and all of these sort of things has been part of peer-reviewed research for many years. The beauty of modern research is that we're now looking at things like brain MRI studies. So there have been articles in the British Journal of Psychiatry, for example, talking about being able to recognize DID within a brain as understood within an MRI scan, and they can tell the difference between the DID brain and the non-DID brain. So when we're thinking about does it exist, we can actually point to evidence in peer-reviewed journals of great exceptional quality and say that yes, it does exist and it's been found to exist within an MRI, so therefore that's pretty good evidence. The third is that there is a validated, internationally used measurement tool for assessing DID. That's the structured clinical interview. That's something that we use widely and has been used very well since its first manifestation in 1994, and it's been upgraded in 2023 by Marlene Steinberg. And the inter-rater reliability of this is absolutely on point. So that means that we have an excellent, validated international tool for measuring it. If it didn't exist, why would this tool be present? Why would it be being used by so many different people? And why would the inter-rater reliability be so good? So that means that lots of different people can assess DID using a validated tool. So if we're saying, is it a real thing, we can say yes it is, and we can prove to a measurement tool to actually assess that it is present. And the fourth and the fifth reasons are fairly similar. So the fourth reason is that the reporting of the manifestation of the symptomology of DID is pretty much exactly the same across countries and continents as reported by people experiencing that condition from all walks of life, all different ages, all different cultures, all describe the nature of what DID is and the the way that it's experienced in very, very similar ways. So we have this sort of reliable construct of what the symptom profile is like, what the experience of it is like, the way people talk about it, the way the symptoms are shown, the way we understand, observe and notice the symptoms of DID is very similar across continents and across cultures. And exactly the same for the clinician reporting, which is point 5, is that clinicians from all walks of life, from all different therapeutic and professional backgrounds, from all different countries and all different cultures, all describe the way that they see DID being presented in the clinical space as being very, very similar. Comes back to that peer-reviewed academic thing, is that when people from all different countries read excerpts of what DID is like, they say, yep, I understand that, I've seen that, that's in my clinical space. So again, if you put all of these 5 things together, what you've got is an international agreement that DID does exist, that it is a real thing, that we've been able to pinpoint the precise symptoms of it, the experience of it, we've been able to formulate the origins of it, and we're able to understand the manifestation of DID within the neurology of the brain. I think that pretty much answers the question, is it a real thing? Because it's a resounding yes, and here's the evidence for why. It's simply not good enough to say, yes, it is a real thing because I've got it, let's say, from a patient perspective, because that doesn't really have any evidence other than self-reporting, which is the anecdotal evidence, which is the lowest scale of evidence that research is interested in. What we're talking about here is an international agreement that it does exist. We've got the profile of it, we've got the symptoms of it, we've got the formulation of the origins of it. It's all been described, it's all been set out in research that's been peer-reviewed and taken to be so important. It exists within the 2 most significant manuals for diagnosis that are on the planet. So I'd say that would give you a reasonably good argument. When someone says that it exists, you say yes, and here's why. I'll show you this video, I'll talk you through this stuff. You have a great answer on your hands. Again, as with all these things, I hope this has been really helpful. It's a nice thing to be able to have a conversation with someone who might not be understanding of the condition. There's a really lovely way of being able to put this across, to say, yep, and I'm going to help you understand how it exists and where it's all come from and what it means. It's a really great thing to be able to do when someone queries it in that way. So I hope it's been useful. Please leave comments in the section below in the video. Please like, subscribe, share, do all the usual sort of things. And in between now and the next video, please do take great care.